everyone. It is 6 p.m. Welcome all to the Lincolnville Selectmen's meeting. It is the 25th of July already. Hard to believe. Seeing no one rushing up to the podium, let's move along to the administrator's report.
Beyond what's on your agenda, it's been a busy couple of weeks. Although I'm a bureaucrat at heart, I met my match with FEMA with regards to the last October's storm. I think we've agreed on $34,739.87 worth of damages that will be eligible for at least partial reimbursement. However, having said that, I got another email today that said, we need this, and this too. So that's still in the works, and wow. That's all I get to say about that. We commenced this past week with the stockpiling of winter sand. It was shut down on Friday because it was really hot for the people working in the pit and the people working in the barn. And it was a little damp this morning, so we didn't get much in today before we shut that off too. The large culvert on Maslin Road was also supposed to commence this morning, but with the rain, we postponed it till tomorrow morning, although it's been ground across the road, but that'll be a couple of days and that should be in. We had a little difficulty with the swim ladder. All things, but in the middle of a nice warm week, public facilities director and I got to go for a swim on town time to retrieve the float, take the ladder off, put the float back out. We had a repair done to the ladder. Nobody thought the repair was going to last long, unfortunately, and it made it through part of the weekend before it was broken again. We have a replacement en route, so probably be swimming again for the week's up.
So, excuse me,
yeah.
Do we know what caused the float to go?
The ladder itself, it's surmised that somebody, let's say, doing acrobatics or however you want to stand on the ladder in time, fatigued the bracket, and the bracket broke. And
there wasn't a note there saying,
no,
the vandals have struck.
No, and nobody hooked onto it with a boat and tried to tow it away that I know of. And I think it's just I think it was a function of fatigue and time, but couldn't have picked a worse time.
Yeah.
The property tax commitment should be on the next board agenda in 2 weeks. That's a little bit of behind the scenes activity. Vern is getting closer every time he's here, but certainly provided support to him. And down at Penobscot Park, we should, things go as planned, have the handrail in later this week. The posts for replacement on the picnic structures are here and delivered, have not been installed, but we're making progress towards that way. And the roofing, you'll have something probably in the next packet, a little precursor to that. Viking is not recommending a metal roof there because of its exposure, or you could buy it, but we're not going to warranty it for you. So we're still working on the other options, and we'll have something for you at the next meeting. And the other, you have a little memo on your desk at your workstations. I'd like to have the board consider having adding an executive session to discuss a personnel matter at the end of tonight's agenda. It had to come up since the agenda was posted.
Does that work for the board? We'll add it as new number 14. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I guess that's it besides the agenda.
Okay. Any other questions for David under the administrator's report?
Yeah. David, I was wondering if you or someone in the town staff could come up with, I don't know, projections or what might happen, worst case or best case scenarios when LD 290 kicks in, the tax cap, as it were, the property taxes for people over, people over 65.
That have been homestead for 10 years.
Yeah,
and-
all that stuff. What that might mean for us, town of Lincolnville, our revenues, et cetera.
Yep. Hopefully, I'll give you a little advance on that too. Hopefully, it shouldn't mean anything to us in revenues because in theory, we'll be reimbursed 100% by the state of Maine.
But for how long we think that might take place?
Till the next legislative session.
Yeah.
For benefit of those that may not know, the legislature passed and the governor allowed it to become law without her signature, is my understanding. A bill that if you've been a homestead eligible for 10 years and a resident of Maine and over 65, you'll be able to complete an application on an annual basis that will freeze your property taxes at whatever year you first applied. If you applied, won't be in effect for this year, but the commitment you'll do in 2023, somebody that met the qualifications, it will be frozen at the 2022 level.
For how long?
Until the next year when it would be frozen. If you apply again, it would be frozen at the previous year's level, which is still frozen at the 2022 level. So conceivably, if you met the qualifications and the program continues and is funded, your property taxes will be frozen at the 2022 level until you go to the great beyond. There's a great debate as to how many people that will qualify, how many people will actually apply, and how that's going to be funded. But the other thing is that the law goes into effect between now and your next meeting, I believe on August 8th. And Maine Revenue Services has said they're going to have information out to town offices by then, but so hopefully in your next packet, there'll be some more information.
Thank you.
Looking forward to being 65.
Any other questions for David under the
reason.
administrator's report? Seeing nothing, let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
All meetings are here at the town office unless announced otherwise. Lakes and Ponds Committee meets Tuesday, July 26th, 7 p.m. Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation Board of Directors meets Wednesday, July 27th, 6:30 at the Camden Town Office. The EMS Performance Committee is scheduled to meet Thursday, July 28th, 6:30. The Lincolnville Central School is scheduled to meet Monday, August 1st, 6 p.m. at Lincolnville Central School. The Recreation Commission is scheduled to meet Monday, August 8th, 4 p.m. And the Board of Selectmen is scheduled to meet next on Monday, August 8th, 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. Are there any upcoming community events anyone wishes to share?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that the Lakes and Ponds Committee has sent out a notice that on Thursday, this Thursday, 7/28, at 8 a.m. in the morning, there's going to be a selective clipping at the trailhead there, the Breezemere Park where the Phragmites was. They've invited people to show up with their clippers to find out what's going on or help out clipping.
All right.
It's 8 a.m. this Thursday.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Hopefully the weather's amenable.
Yeah.
Any other community events anyone wishes to share? Seeing none, let's move along to the meeting minutes from the 11th of July.
I move that the board approve the July 11th, 2022 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and well seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And moving along, we have some community interest forms in front of us. And I believe the first community interest form, we have Mr. Butler here. Yes. Would anyone care to engage with Mr. Butler on his application?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah? Could we invite you up to the podium to introduce yourself for the folks watching at home and for the record?
My name is Dick Butler. What else can I
And
tell
you reside,
Oh, I'm sorry.
name and residence, yeah, typically.
Yes. Well, right now I'm renting. We just bought a plot of land on Beach Hill Road, number 58, thanks to Mr. Thurio, and put in the driveway. We haven't completed construction yet, but we'll be renting until we do. So I'm a realtor. I'm renting at the Bay Leaf until I get it sold, and then I'm making other arrangements.
All right, questions?
So why do you want to serve on the planning board out of all of our boards and committees?
That's where I have some experience. We had a house we lived in Stockton Springs for about 12 or 15 years, off and on. And the last 3 years we were there, I was on the planning board for the Stockton Springs planning board. And I liked it, and I just did. It was very, very enjoyable, and it was a good way for me to spend my time and try to do some community service. So that helps.
Thank you.
Can I ask, if during those 3 years on the Stockton Planning Board, were there any more difficult, if not contentious, applications? How'd you get through them?
It was Stockton Springs.
Stockton.
Nothing much happens there.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, nothing contentious.
Okay.
There were a couple of new restaurant applications, just typical, I'm trying to think of the word, the subdivision applications, and pretty much that's it.
Okay.
Nothing big and exciting.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And I've read through the minutes for the planning board for last year and for the first part of this year, and it's very straightforward. It's basically the same sort of thing that I did then. So.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, we can release you from the hot seat.
Okay.
Thank you for coming up to the podium.
Okay, thank you.
Would someone care to make a motion, please?
I move to appoint Dick Butler as a regular member to the planning board with a term expiring June 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And thank you for
Thank you very much.
joining the team.
Thanks a lot.
We'll get you added to the contact list so you know when the meetings are.
Yeah, do you have one of those big books that I have to take home and study? Okay, I'll talk to you about this later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we have two more community interest forms.
Mr. Stebbins did indicate when I spoke with him that he would be here, but he wasn't sure if his wife would be able to.
Okay.
And I told him he started at 6, and I don't see him, obviously.
Does the board wish to move on these at this time, or do we want to wait until a time when the applicants can be present?
Well, my opinion is Mr. Stebbins, I would assume he's affiliated with Ms. Stebbins. His application is not complete,
Correct.
so I don't think we should move on him.
All right. Perhaps we could encourage Mr. Stebbins to finish filling out his form and come back and see us next time.
Okay.
All righty. With no objection, then we will move along to agenda item number 7.
Great.
All right.
Excuse me. What about Ms. Stebbins? This is the Lakes and Ponds Committee. Isn't she, do we have an interest form for her?
We
For
do,
Rosetta?
but she's not here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, I didn't.
There's
No,
sort of
okay,
two alternate sides, at least,
sure.
Does that concurrence from the board on
Yeah.
waiting on that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I can wait.
all right. So let's move along to agenda item number 7, which is the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. I was understood from the materials in our packet that we were going to have Drew here to present to us.
That was my understanding.
And seeing that he is not here, I guess I would like to open up a conversation with the board first. I mean, obviously, not obviously, but I am on board with supporting this effort. However, moving along in the materials that were submitted, it was a little disconcerting to see Lincolnville Community Heart and Soul Committee meeting, that an entirely separate, although related, committee was created by the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, and then a subcommittee was then created from ostensibly people that attended this July 12th meeting. And so from a procedural standpoint, I am uncomfortable with that, given that committees creating committees and then handling dollars from our taxpayers doesn't strike me as something that sits well with me, I guess.
Has that ever happened in any of your times here, committees birthing new committees? Without talking to us.
Not that I can recall, David, are you?
I'm drawing a blank. I'm not saying it's never occurred, but I can't think of an instant.
And I suppose the thing that I mean, I'm all for people getting involved, 100%. And I recognize that this is a massive effort, and I recognize the value and the need of hiring a consultant to help support the efforts. I think all of those things are good. However, again, I'll go back to just a procedural element of spin-off committees doing business in the name of the town that are not expressly directed by elected or appointed officials, particularly when it comes to asking for matching funds, and then going back to invoking the final element of the resolution that they're asking us to sign off on, that leaves the budgeted funds of $10,000 to assist with expenses and disseminating information about the project via the town website and other means of communication. It's a little open-ended, shall I say. So I'm just curious on folks' thoughts.
Two things, comment, question.
Yes.
One is, I was one of those people at the 12th meeting, the meeting on the 12th, and apparently I became part of that committee. And so I would gladly either recuse myself from making any decisions about whatever that committee recommended, or recuse myself from that committee, either one. But the question is, so how are we going to get around this, I guess? The objection that you noted. Have the comprehensive plan committee itself make the recommendation instead of the, whatever they called it, the Lincolnville Community Heart and Soul Committee? Or do we want to, would you feel more comfortable if that originated from the comp plan committee itself, I guess, is the question.
I was expecting to come from the comp plan committee.
Yeah, no, that's the question, yeah.
That's where it was originally presented.
Yeah.
Right.
To the
Yeah.
town.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were going to make another committee.
I didn't either.
Or a subcommittee. I mean, it sort of was like, oh gosh, this is, and I guess I always go back to what is the committee's charge?
Sure.
And if this is outside of the committee's charge from the Board of Selectmen, then the Board of Selectmen, in conjunction with the committee, should have a conversation about a new path or an alternative path.
Yeah.
Again, I want to reiterate, I'm not opposed to the efforts, but it strikes a dangerous precedent to have committees creating spin-off committees that are again asking for taxpayers' dollars. And so leaving that aside for the moment, also without a representative from the comp plan here, I would need to know some more information about the deliverables associated with these 5 sessions, just so that we know there's absolutely no substantive information presented to the select board. Perhaps you were privy to that information at the meeting, but again, we're getting an ask for matching funds and a signed resolution related to those funds with no supporting information. So,
No, I definitely agree with you on all the points. I'm wondering, do you think it would be a good idea, because I think it might be kind of time sensitive, for us to contact the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee and let them know prior to them just finding out, so they can get it on their agenda for the next meeting?
whoa, certainly.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
Depending on other thoughts in this conversation here, and given that we don't have a representative, I would absolutely like to hear some sort of consensus of what we should do. I am going to advocate that we don't move on any of this, given the lack of clarity we have here, but I'm curious to hear Steve, Kern, Josh, your thoughts.
I think the formal sponsor of the Heart and Soul project should be the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And they
Yes.
should be the ones here requesting us to commit 10,000 in matching funds.
And also, shouldn't there be like hey, what's this? Is there steps that this is gonna pay for,
Right.
Shouldn't there be a description?
Right, the thing that was sort of, 4 lines of text. I feel should have some more information presented.
Yeah, I think we should table it for now. If Drew walks in the door, then I'd like to come back to the agenda and ask him a few questions.
Agree. Sure, if the board's willing to do that, sure.
Sorry.
So we're going to table this for now, and so it was mentioned, does the board want the town administrator to reach out to the chair of the comp plan review committee and
I already made a big
share our sentiments?
couple of arrows
Okay.
on my minutes to
right.
remind me to.
Okay, fair enough. Again, I'm really excited about the potential of this, but
And having more people involved than are appointed on the comp plan, I think is great.
absolutely.
So there's nothing wrong with more volunteers joining the effort.
Absolutely. But
Sure.
there's a large but attached to that for sure. Okay. So moving along, we have the reevaluation agreement here in our packet. David, would you care to speak to this at all?
Sure. Earlier in the year, we sought proposals for revaluation services. It being since 2007, since we last implemented the last revaluation. Also, in addition to that, in anticipation of our assessor's agent leaving our employ June 30, 2025. So the board previously, or the Board of Assessors previously reviewed the proposals, went along with the assessor's agent recommendation of RJD appraisal. Town attorneys marked up the contract to, great extent. You have it. It would be something that, again, would be implemented in commitment done in August of 2025. So.
Thoughts from the board? Did anyone find anything within the document that is objectionable?
I do not.
Okay. Would someone care to make a motion then?
I move that the board authorize town administrator Kinney to sign the reevaluation services agreement with RJD Appraisal for the sum of $215,000.
Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And we have before you in agenda item number 9, the security camera policy review. We made some edits at our last meeting. Those edits are now present in this policy. And so if no one has any opposition, would someone care to make a motion?
I move the board adopt the video monitoring systems policy as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And we have agenda item number 10, the sale of town property, map 22, lot 28. You have the closing statement before you. David, do you want to add anything here?
Looking forward to this being sold and cleaned up. No, I guess the closing statement says it all.
Questions from the board? If none, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the board authorize the town administrator to sign on behalf of the quitclaim deed without covenant/release, the closing statement, and any other documents necessary to sell the town property identified on tax map 22 as lots 28 to Walter Lamont Jr. for the price of $75,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much.
Do we want to?
No, I want to proceed with the
Okay.
with the agenda, and then with the board's concurrence, we can go back to that agenda item. Yeah. So we have agenda item number 11, the broadband update. Josh, Steve, with updates for us.
Yeah, so we had a meeting 2 weeks ago. We met with Mark and just discussed a few additions we want done to the feasibility study. We talked more specifically about how we want to approach a conversation with LCI. I think that's mostly it. What am I missing?
We agreed on the members to, as you and I, to be the 2 members to meet with LCI when that time comes. And Mark is supposed to have the final documents to us. Can't remember the date that he specified, but that's coming soon.
Great. Yes, Dave.
Just to follow up, the last time the board also had a discussion about meeting with somebody from Jensen Baird regarding the proposed or possible discussions with LCI. And I've had a nice conversation with Mark Bauer, who suggested that he'd like to read the report when it was finalized before he met with you, but he was thinking if it worked with the board's schedule to perhaps do this in advance of your August 8th meeting.
Okay.
But I don't know what the earliest, well, I don't know how long to schedule it for, and whether it be an hour, hour and a half, 5 minutes. Likely going to be at least an hour,
Yeah.
I guess.
Do you, broadband members, do you have a
say that
sense?
Yeah, an hour seems.
An hour, it's pretty straightforward what's being laid out.
Okay.
I think an hour.
Okay, and so 5 o'clock on the 8th, should we aim for that?
I may be remote. I'll be coming back from Boston.
Okay,
Speaking
we
of,
can do that,
speaking of,
I think.
maybe, if you coach me before you leave.
I trust you. Yeah, I will.
Mark also asked if you would prefer that he come or that he be remote, and I said I would ask, so.
I'd rather be able to have him here. But obviously I want to be respectful for what he wants to do.
He has no preference and can do either, just needed
Are we
to.
gonna get dinged for travel time?
I believe our agreement dings us for one way.
Okay.
I can view him on the
I mean,
screen.
assuming that we can have all of our Zoom ducks in a row
Yeah.
to avoid delays.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel fine with remote.
I think we're
it's
both
fine,
fine.
yeah. Okay. I do have one question for you guys. In addition to the action report, will we be getting, the select board be getting that 4, 5, 6 page, whatever, memorandum sheet that's coming from Action? So we'll have that with Mark. Okay, thanks.
And we've already received that, so you
Yeah,
can send that along.
okay, great, thanks.
All right, super. Anything else on broadband for this evening? Super. Moving along to selectmen updates. Karen, do you have an update for us?
I will have an update Wednesday after Wednesday. We're gonna have a meeting,
Excellent,
Annual meeting.
annual meeting.
excellent. Josh, anything to add?
I don't know.
All right. Mike? any
No.
updates? All right. Steve? And I am so very hopeful that I will have an update if the EMS Performance Committee meeting actually happens. We have the treasurer and payroll warrants to approve and sign.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I move that the board approve and sign the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And as Selectman Garrettson indicated, we do now have a representative from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee present. Does the board wish to revisit agenda item number 7?
Yes.
Okay. Drew, can we invite you up to the podium?
Please, thank you, Lily. Evening, board, Mr. Administrator, my apologies for my tardiness. Something immediately popped up. Anywho, as part of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, we have moved forward with the Heart and Soul Initiative, and we have a document here this evening, which was part of your packet, regarding a resolution in support of the Lincolnville Community Heart and Soul Packet. And it, with the town funding the $10,000 as part of the budget, we have the opportunity now to move forward with a grant process to receive the matching funds of $10,000. And so the requirement of that grant process would require signatures of support from the selectmen of this resolution for the Heart and Soul Project.
Questions for Drew? So the board had a discussion prior when the agenda item came up. And I'm wondering if you can expand on these documents here in our packet that speak to the Lincolnville Community Heart and Soul Committee and further subcommittee that was formed by the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
There is a subcommittee as part of the Heart and Soul Project, which is not part of the comprehensive plan. So our chair is also will also be chairing the Heart and Soul Project in coordination thereof.
Okay, but you didn't really answer my question
Okay.
in that there was a formation of the Lincolnville Community Heart and Soul Committee,
Mhm.
and then there is a subcommittee of that committee from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. And I'm just wondering by what mechanism the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee was empowered to create spin-off committees.
It is not as part of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. The chair of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee is going to chair as completely separate with the Heart and Soul Project. So should be the coordinator thereof. So it's not part of the town of Lincolnville. This is the Heart and Soul this is part of the Heart and Soul Committee initiative, which is, again, separate. So there will be, we have a chair, which is on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and as a volunteer for the Heart and Soul, our chair has also, she's going to be the coordinator of the Heart and Soul, working with Jane LaFleur et al.
All right,
There are no funds, there's nothing.
but they're asking for $10,000.
Well, no, this is part of the grant. So the 10,000 has already been approved.
For the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
That's right, and these funds are going towards the Heart and Soul initiative. And as part of this, the Heart and Soul initiative itself, the cost is actually $20,000. There's a $10,000 matching grant fund. So this is part of the grant process, the application process to receive the grant. And we looked at, the samples that they've had from Bridgeton, from Bucksport, from the other committees. This is part of the grant process so they can receive the funds.
Okay. Steve, you look like you have a question.
I'm troubled by, we're talking about two different groups, but one's doing the work and one's asking for the money. It was my understanding from the last 6 months of watching all this,
Sure.
that the Comprehensive Plan Committee was the sponsor of the Heart and Soul project.
Correct.
Out of a separate committee.
That's right.
The Heart and Soul project.
There isn't a separate committee. The Heart and Soul is, it's a volunteer basis that is not part of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. We're going to be getting a lot of our data and information as far as the pulse on Lincolnville and the tone of what the residents of Lincolnville want Lincolnville to become. But they're separate. They're not, they're not married, so to speak.
But they're being funded potentially by taxpayers' dollars and doing work on behalf of the town.
Correct.
But not in any way, shape, derivative from the town, organized or overseen by the town.
Correct.
Okay.
So the 10,000, the funds that were approved in the budget for the Comprehensive Planning Committee, those funds, were earmarked as a deposit towards the Community Heart and Soul initiative for the town of Lincolnville, which has now, the process has begun. And so there is a committee within that organization, within the Heart and Soul Committee, but it's not part of the town, sort of. They're local volunteers here in Lincolnville who wish to be part of it.
I guess I have to just, you missed this part, but I am so enthusiastic and supportive and have been from the initial presentation of the Community Heart and Soul project. However, I am fundamentally uncomfortable with the idea that it is a completely separate, independent effort that is both asking for a resolution from the town and money from the town, and yet is independent from the town. My apparently incorrect assumption is that this was going to be the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee working in partnership with a consultant from the Heart and Soul Foundation. Not
Correct.
That it was going to grow legs and walk away on its own.
Oh, no, not at all.
But you're saying that it's completely independent. And it's made up of people that the select board did not appoint. There is no charge from the select board.
The charge is to the Comprehensive Planning Review Committee.
Correct.
That's right.
So I will go back to my original question.
Sure.
By what mechanism does the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee have to be empowered to create a separate committee to spend taxpayers' dollars?
This was part of the budget presentation that, as far as the funds that we asked for, as far as what parts.
No.
Am I missing this?
No, there was funding set for a consultant from the Heart and Soul Foundation to work with the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee.
Yeah, and, okay, so this is funding that consultant who is running this Heart and Soul.
But by what mechanism did the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee become empowered to create a separate committee and subcommittee to administrate these funds?
I don't believe we've created a separate committee and subcommittee, so maybe I'm missing
You just said
this.
it, and it's within the documents
Okay.
here.
So
The
the committee is not the one.
This is not in opposition to the concept.
I understand.
Or the fact that I think a consultant will be very helpful, particularly in this foundation.
Sure.
This is a purely procedural question.
So the mechanism, as I believe, Lily, is the mechanism was set in place for, and maybe it's my misinterpretation, and maybe perhaps the chair could answer it better than I, but it's my understanding that because everything for the Comprehensive Planning Committee has been on hold until we can start, until we get approved for funds to move forward with this Community Heart and Soul program.
Why is that?
Well, we've been on hold for several reasons, but but as far as what I'm stating is, as far as getting the exopulse of the town of Lincolnville, this is, I believe that there's been dialogue over this.
I'm sorry,
Prior.
where is that handicap coming from? The committee can't do its work.
No, I didn't say they can't do their work, but we've been on hold waiting for some more information before we have been able to move forward. This Heart and Soul portion of the Comprehensive Planning Review's recommendation, which is part of the budget explanation, was part of the plan was to bring on the Heart and Soul initiative to move forward to better gauge a pulse of the residents of Lincolnville and the direction that they would like to see their town, move toward.
Okay. I would like to ask the board its thoughts on the clarity that has been presented here on this particular topic.
Well, first off, I was, like I mentioned earlier, I was part of that group, therefore, if there's gonna be a decision made, I'm gonna recuse myself from that decision.
Sure.
And it's way too complicated. But having been at that thing, that meeting on the 12th, and listening to all of this, it seems, I certainly get your point. However, thorny it is, because it's a complex issue, right? In a way, it's straightforward, and a way it's layered.
I will argue with you that it is not.
Okay.
The Comprehensive Plan Review Committee has a very clear charge from the Board of
No, I
Selectmen,
agree.
which does not include the authority to create spin-off committees or subcommittees to then thereby spend taxpayers' dollars.
I agree. No,
It is not vague.
Okay, no, I didn't say it was
Okay.
vague. I said it's complicated for a small mind to comprehend. However, I tend to think that what happened at that meeting was perhaps the Comprehensive Plan Committee and the volunteers getting ahead of themselves. And-
Enthusiasm, which is great.
Yeah, oh yeah, very cool to see. But this community, the Lincolnville Community Heart and Soul Committee, I see it as essentially a working group that the Heart and Soul organization needs to do their stuff. But you're right, these decisions did not come from the Comprehensive Plan Committee. Consequently, they're out of bounds.
Right.
So I think it was just moving too early on that part. That's all.
Yeah, Josh.
So thank you for coming. Thank you
Sure.
for explaining. I personally feel more of an understanding of the thought process behind what happened at the July 12th meeting. I don't want us to hold up the community heart and soul process for moving forward. I'm not saying we should make a decision right tonight, but what I would like to know from other board members is, what do you need to feel that we had an appropriate process to expend these funds and move the process forward. So they have a roadmap for how to get there.
I mean, for me, it needs to be directed by the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, full stop.
Also, didn't you say that you would like to see some more specificity?
Yes,
and
but we'll get to
deadlines?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to get over this hurdle first of,
Yeah, directed by the comp plan committee and then break it down from there.
and I guess the issue is that the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee is very clearly capped at so many participating members that can be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So there's that hurdle. The conversation that should have happened is a board level discussion with with representatives from the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, the town administrator, and the Board of Selectmen to talk about what mechanisms there are in place by which we can encourage and allow additional individuals to officially participate to do town business. Saving that conversation, I am not comfortable with putting anything forth from the town of Lincolnville, particularly anything of a fiscal nature or attachment, until we have that cleared up. But I think it is, I'm sure I'll be accused at being obstructionist in terms of, holding policy over philosophy. That is our entire job, is policy and procedure, beginning and ending. And if we have committees going forth asking for money, spending money that are not directly in a chain of command from the town as directed by our legislative body, which are our taxpayers, then we're stepping outside of our purview. So I don't want to hold this process up at all either. However, again, it sets a dangerous precedent. So with the issue of this resolution, in the final paragraph where it specifically says, the representation on the Heart and Soul Committee by Comprehensive Plan Review Committee members, et cetera, is somewhat problematic at this point, given that there are other implicating pieces of information where there are non-town appointed individuals associated with this committee. So I would recommend that the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee meet with the town administrator and get some real clarity and come to the select board, and we can clear all this thing up. I believe you 100%, Mike, that it is an overwhelming enthusiasm. I love seeing individuals' names here that haven't been involved in the conversation, at least within a select board meeting up until this point. Let's do it the right way.
Sure.
I do not want this process, this very important document, and what I perceive the community heart and soul process to be is a very valuable gathering process, to be from the get-go undermined by an inadvertent subversion of the process.
That makes sense.
Let's build a good foundation
Sure.
underneath it. So to your point, there were some things within this presentation, the center paragraph that touches on very briefly what these funds are going towards. I would find it helpful, and I would like to hear from the rest of the board, but I would love to see what the deliverables are for this consultant. Let's see so that we can have for the record and for my edification,
Sure.
what the process, the timelines, all of these sorts of things associated with how these funds and this process is going to go. Because certainly just 5 sessions for a fee of is concise, but not informative.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah. And this is, I mean, and this is a, this is a long-term
Yes.
process for sure.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, the play the long game, gather information, include everybody, all of those are sentiments that I think are shared by everyone. So, it's worthy.
Mm-hmm.
So
We think so too.
So let's do it right. But I'd love to hear from the rest of the board regarding anything else we feel like we need to see in order to wholeheartedly support this.
I agree with that 100%, and as long as we get a timeline with the information spread through the timeline and, how it's going to be dispersed.
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking for.
Sure, of course.
The only other item that you started to mention, Lidley, was around the number of people that might want to be involved. I'm assuming there's a process to increase the number of the people on a specific committee potentially, or identify another method that they can be involved.
Yeah, and it's in the charter.
Right.
So there'd be competing timelines
Right.
to adjust the charter and get this project done. However, we do, as the broadband committee is an ad hoc committee.
Correct.
Something we could discuss, which I would encourage the comprehensive plan review committee to engage with our town administrator on, is seeking perhaps an ad hoc subcommittee that is directed by, and if I didn't say it before, the formal sponsor being the comprehensive plan review committee. But I would think that would be a fairly straightforward mechanism by which we can include as many enthusiastic folks as we can.
And hopefully you can have that, hopefully the comprehensive plan committee can meet with our town administrator within the next 2 weeks. And so in 2 weeks, we can be back here and make
Certainly.
progress.
Absolutely.
And we'll certainly do that.
David, we just stacked a couple things on your list. First, we've got concurrence from the board to saddle our town administrator with another task, but
Sorry.
do you need any additional clarity from the board on this?
I think you've beaten that one pretty hard on Drew. And, Melissa and I have been diligently taking notes, so I think we're all set.
Okay. Drew, sorry to shoot the messenger, but again, it's important we do things right.
I understand.
Yeah.
Very good.
And thank you for coming in.
You got it. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
And as we discussed before, we do have an impromptu executive session to enter into, but before we do that, is there any additional business the board wishes to attend to?
It's time for me to press. Yes, thank you. Okay.
You indicated.
Yeah. Well, it just seems to me that with, in David's applying that, this has to do with parking down at the beach. David's applying the ordinance there and looking through it, it seems as if we might want to get started on addressing some of these questions that were brought to us last week, last session. And I plan to put it on the agenda for next time, and hopefully we can spend a little bit going through the ordinance to see if there's anything we might want to amend in the ordinance. That's all. So I'm just giving you the heads up.
Yep, agreed. And I told Mike before the meeting that Selectman Late and I also had a conversation about reopening the conversation about how we approach parking. There's been enough feedback. hopefully we can encourage some of the individuals who have been adversely affected by some of the parking situation to attend
Yeah.
and offer their thoughts. But I think it would be worthy of the board's time to see if we can do anything better.
Along those lines, I got a question for David. David, have we made any progress because of, from the DOT on the way they assign parking at their lot, the double booking or whatever we call it there?
I haven't even touched base with them
Well,
in
that-
iota.
Well, I'm not trying to add more things to your plate.
Go ahead.
No, okay. But that would be a good thing to have for the next meeting, if we did have a larger conversation. That'd be good information.
You mean to have an understanding of what they're doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There concurrence from the board that we wish to ask David to do that?
Just so we have a baseline of knowledge of
Okay.
what's happening.
Cool. Anything else there, Mike?
No.
All right. Can I have a motion, please?
I move the board add an executive session agenda item to the end of tonight's agenda to address a personnel matter that arose after the posting of the agenda, and there may be a need to take immediate action at this meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? And that having been moved, an additional motion, please.
I move that the board enter into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA, Section 40568, with the town administrator to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Melissa, thank you. Have a good evening.